Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. Thanks for tuning in once again. This edition is sponsored by the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. For more information, head to motoetf.com. Technical support is provided by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, a 501c3 corporation. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Good morning, Alain.
Hey, good morning, Fred.
Well, not sure how many years it has been now that Apple's been seen as kind of a stealth player, rumored to be developing the Apple car. But a report in the Wall Street Journal, quoting an analyst, Ming-Chi Kuo, says the word now is the team behind Apple Car has actually been dissolved for some time now. In the latest Smart Driving Cars newsletter, you say you're not really surprised.
Well, right. I mean, one didn't know. Yes, they did register with the California DMV to be testing driverless vehicles in California. And I think they've submitted in the past their disengagement reports on an annual basis and so on. And so they were doing something. But in the end, it depends which piece of smart driving cars one is talking about. If one's talking about safe driving cars or self-driving cars, or what some people call level 2, I mean, whatever, that describes nothing, but it means, where comfort and convenience is the objective of the automation in the self-driving car, and in the safe driving car, safety is the objective of the automation, then maybe Apple's can play. They're certainly not an unsafe company, and comfort and convenience is what they're all about. So in a sense, that plays. The driverless piece, I never could understand that one. The other piece where it's providing mobility, mobility at scale, which is nothing but, what one is trying to do. One's not trying to do onesie-twosies. One's trying to do at scale, really means that, in fact, you're providing a really somewhat boring function with maybe some doodahs on it to make it comfortable and convenient and exciting, but you're really, getting people from A to B. They're really not doing it for the trip. They're doing it because of the trip. Okay. They're doing it for another reason. And again, back to my elevator analogy, what's the elevator do for us? You show up in a building, you want to go to the 14th floor, it's there, it takes you, you do your business on the 14th floor, whatever it is, and you forget about the elevator. Oh yeah, they might have had some accoutrements and so on in there to make it nice and whatever, but the business of elevator is, boy, getting you from that ground floor to that 14th floor. Doing that against the competition of what? A stairwell. Okay, something that is really not a big competitor, and it just does it, and then you forget about it. The things that Apple does, you just don't do and forget about them. It's all about having the Apple in your face and all this stuff, and Apple around it, and Apple to do, and it's all about in some sense Apple in some sense. So, in the business of providing trips, mobility, which is really what one is trying to do, probably not their business. They, in the iPhone, they're not Verizon. They're putting all the accoutrements around it. They're providing the comfort and convenience around Verizon, which is getting you to connecting me with you. Okay, so I don't know. So it's not surprising, and they must have had, all kind. Can you imagine if they have discussion? I assume they have discussion at Apple. Can you imagine the discussions when, a bunch of people are saying, "Really, why are we here? What are we doing? Is this really in the mission of anyway? Whatever." Although, as of course Adam Jonas points out, this is a $10 trillion industry just to provide A to B. I don't know what the size of the industry is for Verizon to provide connectivity between us. We know there's a big business. Hey, oh my goodness, Elon's out there putting how many satellites up there to provide connectivity between people, just to be able to do it, not to put accoutrements around it and so on and so forth, to do it. So I don't know. At least not surprising. Sorry about the time, whatever, but that's sort of the way I look at these things.
Alain, we've learned from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette that Henry Posner and his RDC Deutschland Railroad Company is running a daily refugee train in Germany, assisting with the Ukrainian crisis. The piece talks about one instance when a woman passenger was ill and wasn't being helped. People were kind of skittish because of what's going on. And because he speaks Russian, was able to determine that it was motion sickness. Henry is a good friend of yours, Alain.
Dear friend, out of how many ever students I've had in 50 plus years of doing it, I mean, he's in the top handful, and it sends chills up and down my spine when I think about it. I mean, Henry, thank you.
Meanwhile, over 400 companies have withdrawn from Russia, and you have some comments in the newsletter about that.
Yeah, I mean, Sonnenfeld, I guess is his name, economics professor at Yale, has put together the list of who's in and who's out in the Russian thing, and again, thanks to him, that the information's available. As to, I look at. I haven't been a McDonald's hamburger fan for many, many years, and turned my nose up at McDonald's hamburgers. Now I can't eat enough of them. Okay. Why? Because, they pulled out. They were basically the first ones in, I guess. I don't know. When they first went into Moscow, I went to that McDonald's. I mean, I guess it helped stabilize and revolutionize Russia to some extent. And for them to pull out immediately, in some sense, wow, you got to applaud that. Okay. Not to hurt the Russian people. Nobody wants to hurt the Russian people, but somehow, somebody's got to wake up. I mean, I thought, we're done with this kind of, World War I, World War II, Korean War stupidity. And here we are once again over oil. And what the heck? I mean, Elizabeth's out in LA and Santa Monica. She sent me this picture. I mean, the price is $6.50 for a gallon. I mean, it's still costing what, $10, $20 a barrel to get it out of the ground. And it comes to us at $6 a gallon. Who's making the money in between? And in a sense, if it's the cartel again, that basically, just takes all the oil around the world, who knows how they control that price? I mean, it's not supply demand. I know the demand for it is inelastic. I know all that stuff, but on a saber rattle, they can just twiddle the price and it goes up over $140 a barrel. And the stuff out of the ground costs less than 20. I mean, who's making that spread? And the money all goes into a pool, and then they divvy it up based on who knows some formula that they have of who contributes. And that formula doesn't say, hey, look, Russia's part of that contribution. I don't know, whatever percent, 6%, 10%, 12%, whatever the heck it is. Now you get 6% of what it used to bring in when Brent was at 40. And now it's 140. Putin's getting rich because he just takes a cut. You would think that the sanctions would go in there and somebody would put their arm around the Saudis and say, hey, yo. Apparently not. I don't know. I guess I just don't understand it enough. But back to the list. now we know the companies who haven't gotten out of Russia. And that's fine in the sense, but if you're in Russia helping one basically make 5x of what you would make, more than 5x what you would make on a commodity, and still sits there and helps it, Halliburton, my goodness, I mean, some of us have to just, talk about a boycott. I mean, if you own Halliburton, sell it. If you own anybody on the list of shame, sell it. And don't go eat their hamburgers. Subway. I don't know. I mean, this is like crazy stuff.
You mentioned on the flip side, in terms of doing some good, you mentioned before the internet efforts of Elon Musk and SpaceX, and they're providing internet access that's really working in Ukraine, from what I understand. Which is
I guess it's working in Ukraine, and it's still working in Russia, and he hasn't turned it off. And Elon said, free speech is more important than a bunch of other things, and it's hard to argue against free speech. Especially someone like me to argue against free speech. Of course. And
well, the idea of having it in Russia is giving people access that's perhaps unfiltered by the government.
Yeah, no, and I think so, and of course I suspect that's absolutely where he's coming from. I just can't see Halliburton helping Russians pump oil to stick it into the pool of oil that OPEC controls, so that they then can get the pool of money that's gained from that pool, which is now at, I don't know where it is. Is it under? It may be under 100. I haven't looked this morning, but it's still obscene, and that's war profiteering. And look, I'm just some bumpkin in the backwaters of New Jersey. What do I know?
GM, another story here, Alan. GM is acquiring Softbank's stake in Cruise, the self-driving unit that was with us on the podcast earlier this month. The price, $2.1 billion. Softbank had taken a minority stake 4 years ago for $2.25 billion. You did some math.
I mean, Mary Barrett deserves like a medal or something. She borrowed 2.25 and paid back 2.15. Well, she didn't borrow or whatever. I mean, it wasn't a loan. I understand. I mean, whatever. But she got the whole 2.25 and only had to pay back 2.15. I mean, that's a minus 5% interest rate. I remember when I bought my first mainframe, I had to pay for that IBM mainframe, which was $400,000 or something, and probably had less power than my damn phone does today. I think it cost $400,000. I had to go to the bank and knock on my banker's door. Can I have some money, please? And he was nice enough to not have me put up my house and so on. Yeah, you can have it 1.5 above prime. And I said, "Oh, thank you, so that I can take this money and go." That's prime was 21. Whoa! Wow. Yeah. How quickly did I pay back the 400? Ooh, what great lesson did I learn? Ooh, don't borrow, don't take other people's money because it costs. Mary took 2.25 big ones and only had to pay 2.1. Wow, back. Wow, after 4 years. Wow. But what does this mean about what's going on? What were the terms of that thing, and so on? And terms are sort of, you never get the contract to be able to read the terms. But with everything, it's not just the top line number that's important. It's all the terms. So there must have been terms in that original thing that said, hey, after 4 years, would imagine Softbank said, yeah, we want to even put more money in at the same rate that we put in the beginning. It must have been in there. Okay. And if they didn't take that option, then there was some, who knows what on the other side, because, you have to pay for options. There are two sides of the options. There's the plus side and there's everybody wants to do options. They only want things on one side, but the other side makes them put something on the other side. So this other 1 point whatever that Softbank must have had to exercise or lose, and not just lose the option, but probably have some penalties to pay, because of course GM would have put that into the deal, and Softbank at the time, the deal's looking at this stuff. There's no way we're going to be on that side of it. Just think, we're going to be able to get 4 years from now, when this stuff has gone through the roof, we're going to be able to put more money in at the same rate. They probably gave up all kinds of stuff to have that option, I would think. These are smart people. That's I don't know. Again, I haven't been in high finance, and so I really don't know. But I sit here imagining, and you have to imagine that these are smart people. You always have to look at the people that you're dealing with are smart. They're all smart. They're all smart. And so
I was pretty encouraged with what we heard from Cruise, their executive vice president of engineering, Mo El Shinawi. If people haven't seen or listened to that podcast, I encourage you to go back and listen to it earlier this month.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are going good. They're not going as good as the Sunday supplements suggested they would go back 4 years ago. Now, if you believe the Sunday supplements of flying driverless cars everywhere, 7 million people running around Manhattan with, flying driverless cars, okay. Okay, but we're not there. We are making enormous progress, and I suspect that, my goodness, why Softbank doesn't see that, in fact, putting in another whatever billion at the same rate or whatever the option was is not to their benefit. Makes you maybe ask some questions about where Softbank is in this world. Are they short on money? The article said they might invest it elsewhere, and I, of course, make it, please don't invest it on war machinery, because war machinery right now is hot. War profiteering is hot. Please don't put it in there. Okay. But anyway, so it would be really interesting to know what the terms were of that original agreement, and what the terms of the options were, and how those terms now manifested themselves into these decisions. I tell my classes that I'm a firm believer that everyone is rational. Each individual makes rational decisions all the time, where the definition of rationality is they have a set of options, they rank order them, they pick from the top. Now, we can argue about the algorithm used to rank order, okay, because depending on what your biases, favoritisms, and so on are, the order can rapidly change. So facing the same situation, the way you weight the various values of those things, the positives and negatives, Fred, you can come up with one thing on the top. I can come up with a very different thing at the top. Okay, but you pick from the top. So when you watch somebody take an action, you know that action they took from their perspective was the best for them. So if you take this action by Softbank saying, here, we only want 2.1 back and we're moving on, as opposed to putting in another one, how does those facts end up making the exercise or not exercise of that option go into don't exercise the option? what else is going in there in that rank ordering process of everything else that goes into that whole thing and so on, getting that thing to the top. And so you can sit there and say, well, what must it have been? SoftBank's out of money. SoftBank wants money to put somewhere else. Where else are they thinking about putting it to bump this thing to the top as opposed to putting it there? And you go through all those scenarios. But the action tells an enormous amount about how they must be waiting, WEI, various things, to come to have rational people, bright, rational people make a decision. We're not exercising the option. Whoa.
On the other hand, GM's stake has increased substantially.
Well, they didn't have to dilute their stake, right? They didn't have to dilute it, because if they're coming in with another one, I mean, everybody else is in there, gets diluted. And it's not just GM, it's who else? Volkswagen's in there, Honda's in there, all the others, and so on. So, there's, again, I don't have access, or maybe I haven't searched hard enough to get access to the details, but boy, would it be interesting to see the details of that, because then it would show us, oh my goodness, this is what's going on in the center part of SoftBank, and of course GM's. I guess it also tells us that, well, they may not have had much of a thing, unless they wanted to sweeten the option or something like that. But the option, I think, sat with SoftBank.
We'll be back, but this is a good time to remind you about our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. To get more info, head to motoetf.com. On the website, look for a white paper. It's called The Smart Transportation Revolution. It's under the Insights and News tab. You'll find some great information there to help you make informed decisions about investing. You probably know that ETFs can be a good way to spread risk with investments, perhaps focus on a particular category of stocks. The website again is motoetf.com. We're back with more of Smart Driving Cars. Alain, Tesla continues to make some headlines. Elon Musk says what's new there, right? Elon Musk says he's working on Master Plan 3. And on Twitter, he responded to the head of a competing software company saying they have no idea how hard full self-driving is. He adds the only path to success is hardcore real-world AI software with the kind of supercomputing power that involves multi-billions of dollars and data from more than 10 billion miles of vehicle data and on. And I guess you nod your head. It's hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with Elon on this one. I mean, I just agree. This thing is tough. The technology is tough. That is, don't crash. All right. And then to integrate it with the sociology of some person there, either riding or monitoring or deciding they're going to impress their date or who knows what. That's non-trivial stuff. If you want to do it in Mother Nature's playground, she's out there throwing all kinds of curveballs, sliders, change ups, don't know what's coming. And you have to get, people call it artificial intelligence. Cut it out. There's no intelligence there. There's just a bunch of algorithms. I'm not saying, an amoeba and a one cell entity is able to do collision avoidance and search for food. One cell. Did I say one cell? We can't take, he built Dojo. Dojo is 10 to the 18th floating point instructions per second. 10 to the 18th. Why? To be able to put it to work, to be able to get the algorithm so that the thing don't crash. This is what he's talking about in terms of what it takes. At least the way we're doing, and we're still at the brute force approach to this. We haven't figured out what the heck the amoeba does, the one-celled entity, to be able to do what the heck it does. That's intelligence.
And
That's
you've often mentioned the fruit flies not crashing into the walls and things.
Yeah, right.
Too.
I mean, fleas not in my, they aren't splattered all over my walls. I mean, where they have like 3 neurons. But that's, 3, I don't know how many neurons they have, whatever number, small number. We have 10 to the 11th. Okay. To do what we do. And at times, if you look at Putin, he's not being very intelligent, I'll say. Whatever. Back to that. Sorry, I don't know. We're digressing here, Fred.
Well, Electrek reports that Tesla is still dominating the U.S. electric vehicle market. I think we knew that, and it isn't even close. There's also a report from Teslarati that says Tesla is the most trusted brand developing fully autonomous vehicles. I don't know where that comes from, and you question it.
Yeah, right. I mean, the electric, having 79% market share of a sector is, I mean, anybody who does that. Coke, I don't think Coke has that in the soft drink market. Coke and Pepsi together don't. Okay, Otis doesn't have it in the elevator market. I mean, there are like 5 companies that have, 10 to 20 some or whatever percent, the top 5. You look at gasoline powered cars, there are how many of them? 79% of the market in electric vehicles. And whoa, I mean, you have to take your hat off for somebody to create something like that. Create a new market and dominate it like that, and not have any public relations folks that get us and everybody else to talk about them for free. And, a la Donald Trump, if his name still appears, I don't know how many times on every front page of the New York Times. They can't help themselves. They must have a string of typeset that just says Trump that they want to reuse, so that the gal doesn't have to put down that lead and each of those things. They just drop it in there into the printing press. Oh, we don't do it that way anymore. Sorry, Fred, but there must be a shortcut in every correspondent New York Times that you just hit. It's one keystroke to have it say Trump. Never mind. Sorry.
Moving on here, you highlight, Alan, some other stories. Our friend Fred Payne down in Greenville, South Carolina, is making progress, I guess, with Clemson to launch a ride-sharing network, and Fred is still at it.
Still at it. So wonderful that Fred's doing that. Again, ride sharing is key to providing affordable mobility. Ride sharing is key to providing affordable mobility. Ride sharing is key to providing environmentally responsible, affordable mobility. We go on and on. Ride sharing is key, and it's so great that Fred is doing that. Congratulations, Fred. Keep up the good work.
Aurora has developed a hardware kit that is transferable between vehicles, can power both cars and trucks. You had a comment or two on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's been their objective, ever since Armstrong left Waymo, is to create basically a kit that you put, in some sense, on any vehicle, whether it be car or truck. I mean, you should have a software switch that says, hey, branch over, it does a car, branch over, it does a truck. Okay. I mean, it's mostly a software difference. You certainly, but the things that you're trying to deal with in both of those things is you have to find the objects, you have to stay in the lane, don't crash. Now, the amount of ride comfort and so on you put is quite different. And of course, if you're dealing with putting these things in a transit vehicle, a bus, for example, that has standees, then all of a sudden the standee requirement puts all kinds of other constraints as to how you can respond. You can't just slam on the brakes. You may not kill anybody outside, you'll kill people inside. And you have to worry about jerk, the rate of change of acceleration. Or why? Because, people have to be able to grab the, and not fall. So there are different constraints in different vehicles, but there are only a couple handfuls of different, as opposed to the environment you're trying to operate in there. Mother Nature out there in terms of that environment is all over the place. That's n-dimensional, where n is very large, going to infinity. And these different kinds of vehicles are handfuls, few, branch here, branch there. Why not? If you're putting this thing on an 18-wheeler, as opposed to, autonomous taxi operating in Trenton. Okay. You also know where you are. Okay. And in a sense, the interest of making these things operate everywhere out of the box, I don't know. Really? If you look at the distribution of places where they're going to be, 90, even if you said I want to serve everybody, 90% of the time you're, within a very defined area. So the hell with the 10%. And also with respect to, making these things operate in fog. There was a crash last week in Missouri, 125 or 30 vehicles crash. These are human operated vehicles that were trying to drive in fog. Are we really trying to solve the drive in fog problem? Forget about it. Stay home. I get these alerts from FedEx. Oh, service alert. Because of weather, we may not necessarily deliver your overnight package overnight. And what do? I say, oh my goodness, this is the end of the world. No. Mañana. I'll wait. Part of the problem in having this technology come out of Silicon Valley is there are a lot of people there that have a lot of things and sort of want a little something on those very things, but they're all very rich and they all want that little thing out there that they don't have. They don't look at the big crunch of the market that you can. For Trenton moves, I don't know, have explicitly said, hey, if you can come here and do it for 350 days a year, 24/7, we'll be very happy. We'll leave the 2 weeks plus 1.25 days, and we'll let you have vacation days. Weather in New Jersey is really not very bad, 350 days a year. So do that first. My goodness, you can't be happy doing 350. You got to do 365.25. Where does that mentality come from? Does it come from people that already have too much and they want just a little bit more on top? And we're doing it for them? Cut it out. No, I don't know. I may be, no wonder everybody hates me. I mean, that's just, but it doesn't make any sense. I don't think the 200 billion that have been spent so far on this is trying to solve the deep snow, the fog, and the fog problem. Why don't you just try to do good for most of the time? And let's start there and really do good, not just provide an amusement ride for somebody who, wants yet another thrill. Anyway.
In addition to Aurora, which is a company that we've talked about pretty frequently, trying to do things the right way, I think. Zoox is out there, and you comment on an interview that the CEO did at the Consumer Electronics Show not long ago that was highlighted,
Well,
I think,
it
in
wasn't
Wired.
long. It turned out it was a year ago, which I mean, I'm clueless. I don't know what's going on. She and Chris Urmson, I think, did a wonderful job, and I put it out there because I hadn't put it out there before. It's really good, and Chris is appropriately talking about the driver that he's putting together, for which you need sensors, you need actuators, and of course you need a compute environment on top of the code. You need those four things. You need sensors, you need actuators, you need a compute environment, and you need the code. Those are the four things that you need. And so he's putting those together on top of whatever, and we'll again mix and match them appropriately to the handful of opportunities out there. And it's that way, you can serve many customers, and you can provide a product, which in a sense, that's the way the suppliers to the automotive industries do that. Somebody makes headlights. They make headlights, of different varieties that they can plop on different car manufacturers. The braking systems, tie rods, steering wheels that we're going to get away from eventually. Okay, so that's all appropriate. But then the passion of Zoox to do driverless, to me, of course, makes sense within the Amazon family. And of course, Zoox has been out there mostly trying to move people, but of course, Amazon moves packages. And in fact, what has made Amazon is not just the interface, the e-commerce, the whatever, the bits and the bytes. The brilliance is the logistics network that they have to be able to basically present the products to us and then deliver them to us. The delivery of goods. And then, in fact, the ugly part of this thing is a lot of that stuff goes back. And so therefore you have to send it back. Now, from a logistics standpoint, it's kind of good because, you have a loaded truck going this way or thing, and then you have a loaded truck going back, sending it back. Instead of loaded, empty, loaded, empty, loaded, empty, you have it loaded and loaded. I mean, this is the best of the worlds for any logistics company. You have minimal empty backhaul. Okay. I mean, it's like fundamental. To what extent, Amazon really publicizes that you can send the stuff back, as opposed to, when I get stuff that I really don't want, I just go down and give it to the Trenton Mission, or Food Kitchen or something like that, as opposed to sending it back. But a lot of people send things back.
You don't even have to send it. You can. Many of they have retail agreements, and their Whole Food stores.
They
use for people to be able to bring things back, and
but
they make it simple enough.
They make it. They have to make it simple, okay? Because again, for many of these things, you have to try them on, okay? And I still can't buy groceries online because, of course, I want to look at the meat package that I'm buying. And, of course, it better have that visibility on the bottom side, because I know what they've done to me in the past and shown only the good side up, which, of course, they're going to do. I mean, they're not stupid. But, that's just old school me. But a lot of people are now, get it delivered here. And then, of course, they think that the delivery is free, and they don't care what the implications are on the environment or anything else or whatever. But guess what? All that stuff's not free. I mean, somebody's doing it. or some entity or some robot or some autonomous vehicle or something's doing it. Now, of course, the objective is if we can get an autonomous vehicle to do it, as opposed to maybe the people that are doing it can have a better job, better feed their family doing something else. But we, of course, have to create that, produce that.
You don't think highly of another story. Polestar O2, the vehicle is integrating a drone that can be launched from a moving vehicle to record video.
Great. Again, I have so many things. I have a vehicle that's going to get me from A to B so that I can go to a doctor, or I can go to a library, or I can go get food, or I can do some basics, or I can go across town and shoot hoops, or I can just do the things that fundamentally improve my life. Now, on top of that, I can launch a damn whatever off the back. I mean, come on, really? I mean, sure, it's cute. It's clickbait. It gets attention and so on. They show this. I think it's the road that leads to Death Valley is where they filmed it, because it goes up and down like this and so on. So I've been on that sucker. And of course, they want a drone out there. So instead of watching the road, because of course it has full self-driving or their equivalent, it probably doesn't work as well. So you can sit there and just watch what the drone is seeing, as opposed to watching out whether or not you're going to hit somebody, but there's nobody else there. So I guess there's nobody else to hit. Really? I need that too? And if I'm to use it here, and of course, where do I drive? Route 1. Traffic light after traffic light after, well, it's just terrible, whatever. And I'm going to launch my thing out the back so I can see traffic jams and New Jersey strip malls and I don't know, swampland and developments. And that's what I'm going to see. I mean, that thing's going to be following me, and it's going to whack the first traffic light. Boom. Where they
if they have good sensors in it won't do that.
Okay. They're gonna put the compute power, they're gonna put the sensors, they're gonna put the actuators. So this is gonna do collision avoidance too, yet the car can't.
That's pretty common in the drones today, but yeah.
Collision avoidance?
Yes.
Serious collision avoidance?
Well, they avoid trees and power lines, things like that. Power lines are tougher than trees to avoid, but they manage. But
yeah, okay. So in a Sunday supplement, Fred, you've been in Fred, your Textination isn't, some of the folks that come on there are like, Sunday supplement folks, or not. I shouldn't say that, whatever. I was a Sunday supplement folk when I first met you, and you put me on Textination. So
you made things that were real, and that's what we look for. So a couple of reminders we want to get to, Alan.
Yep.
Pave has a virtual panel coming up on Wednesday, 2 Eastern, titled "Where, Not When, Why Domains Matter." Yeah. We're looking forward to that. And we'll be talking about it in our next podcast.
Right, and it's a good topic, and then we're going to follow it up and see if we can discuss it. But that's a good one on Wednesday. If you can tune into Pave's podcast there.
The website is Pave, PAVE campaign.org. And the next Smart Driving Car Summit, we want to remind people, is focused on Trenton, and it's scheduled for early June.
Yep, we're getting it put together. Some people are lining up where it's going to be wild in Trenton with the Mobility Festival. And instead of making the people come to the festival, we're going to take the festival and take it to the people. And the thought of that is not only to be able to discuss among those of us that are still wanting to make all this happen. How do we do make it safe? We do make it equitable. We do make it affordable. We do make it, and it's affordable on the cost side, not on the price side. We know how to make it affordable on the price side. You just, alms for the poor, and if you get enough alms for the poor, you can. But that's not the way we want to approach this thing. And of course, high quality. And the high quality we're talking about here is not better than a chauffeur limousine that somebody has already. It's really for folks who really struggle to have adequate mobility to improve their lives, and so that's the fundamental focus of the thing. And we're gonna, the objective is not testing. The objective is deployments, is actually doing it for people, not every day, 350 days a year in the beginning, not 24/7, just 12/7. Why? Because we need an attendant on board in the beginning. We can't do it without an attendant. And the reason why we can't do it without an attendant in the beginning is because the people who use it have to be acclimated to the system. They have to feel comfortable. It's not to make sure the system works. We're assuming it works from the beginning. Assuming we've already spent $200 billion getting this stuff to work. It should work technically. The issue is how is it integrating with the customer? And the customer is a customer that's in there because they're trying to get the B from A for whatever B gives them, not for the benefit of the ride, not to sip their champagne, not to have it be an amusement park or to send a selfie on Instagram or whatever. Okay, and that's the challenge. We think in Jersey, we've prepared ourselves to address that challenge of deployment, and we hope that those who have invested the $200 billion and gotten their systems to work will come and do it in Trenton, not test it in Trenton, do it in Trenton, and then Mercer County, and then all New Jersey. Why not? If you can do it in Trenton, hey, the world's your oyster.
And it's using the technology, as you've said, to provide something valuable to society.
Right, to people, to improve their lives, not just to get a thrill. I mean, to get someplace that really, that's why you go someplace. The first sentence in my course is, transportation's for what? Improve personal utility, time and place utility. Hey, I go someplace because because I prefer to be there than to be where I am. Otherwise, I wouldn't go.
Again, that's coming up early June, and please get more information online, smartdrivingcar.com. Thank you to our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF. The ticker symbol for the ETF is MOTO. More information is available at motoetf.com. Technical support is provided by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, a 501c3 corporation. You can find us once again at smartdrivingcar.com, also on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Google, Spreaker, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Your smart speaker can play us too. You can find my tech reports at techstination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching. Please stay safe.
Hey, thanks, Fred, and have a great day, everybody.